Is it possible for one filter to replace all others? In this video we're going to find out. Now in this video we're going to be testing out the new Polar Pro variable ND filters on the Mavic Air 2 and seeing if they really are worth their £80 price tag. Now I'd just like to point out that this video isn't sponsored by Polar Pro. I purchased these with my own money, and if they're crap I'll be telling you, and if they're good, well, I'll also be telling you. Polar Pro are one of the big guns when it comes to filters. They have a reputation for producing high quality products, so I must admit I am expecting big things from these filters. Now variable ND filters work differently to a standard ND filter. The standard ND filter has a single piece of glass which is tinted to a set level to reduce a set amount of light entering your camera, where variable ND filters are made up of two polarizing filters which when rotated change the amount of light entering the camera, hence the name variable. Because variable ND filters are made up of two pieces of polarized glass, sometimes they can introduce some wacky colours and distortion into your images, especially if they're manufactured to a lower quality. So let's put these filters through their paces. In this set we have two variable ND filters, the 2 to 5 stop variable and the 6 to 9 stop variable. The 2 to 5 stop covers the range of ND filters ND4, ND8, ND16 and ND32. These are normally used in photography and videography. The 6 to 9 stop filter covers the range of ND filters ND64, ND128, ND256 and ND512. These are mainly used in photography for long exposure shots. So the way variable ND filters work is very simple. Just by rotating the outer lens you can either increase or decrease the amount of light entering the camera. Polar Pro makes it pretty easy to gauge your level by the marks on the edge of the ring, and also limiting the range you have on the filters. Now with normal ND filters you would have to swap out the whole filter, which is time consuming and a pain in the arse. Not to mention the time you spent packing and unpacking the filters. So let's get the drone up and see if by using the Polar Pro filters there's any downside to using them. This video here is with no filters on the drone. Now let's bring in the filter. I can see it's running a bit warmer with a slight tint of green. Let's put the no filter next to the Polar Pro and compare. Yep, it's definitely running a tad warmer with a hint of green. This is a common problem with variable ND filters, and it's pretty easy to pull the colours back in post, but in theory we shouldn't have to. Let's zoom in and take a look at the detail. The detail seems pretty well retained and nothing obvious is sticking out. Now it is possible that the filter is only appearing warmer at this particular setting. So let's see if the temperature of the image increases or decreases as we go through the filters range. And let's quickly swap to the other filter. As you saw, the colour change is consistent throughout the filter's range, which is kinda good at least for it's consistent, but it's also not good that it's there in the first place. Also worth noting that stops 8 and 9 are darker, not because of the filters, but the camera was in auto mode and unable to adjust enough for the long exposure. So let's take a look at the good points of these filters and the bad points. Let's start with the good. First, there's lots of adjustment. You haven't just got the 4 stops on each of the filters. You have half stops, quarter stops. You can even have minute adjustment, meaning that you can dial in your exposure or shutter speed perfectly. Each filter is probably the equivalent of 20 plus standard filters. And that leads us on to the next good point. So easy to use. They're simple to adjust, no taking them on and off like conventional ND filters. and they retain the detail extremely well. And the best thing about them for me, I shoot mainly videos, and the 2 to 5 stop variable ND filter, I can leave that on all day, from sunrise to sunset, and have all the adjustment I need. So now the bad. Well, we start with a high price. These 2 filters come in a set and cost me £80. That's almost double the price of the freewheel equivalent. Now you can buy them individually at approximately £40 each, but you're paying a premium for Polar Pro. Lastly, the colour adjustment. As we saw, they seem to warm up the image or footage. Now in theory there shouldn't be any difference in colour, but that's the price you pay for the flexibility of variable ND filters. So am I keeping them? Well, simple answer is yes. The 2 to 5 stop will be on the drone all the time for my videos, and the colour adjustment isn't enough to make me switch back to standard ND filters. Would I recommend them? Yes, but bear in mind I haven't compared them to other brands. Have I missed anything? More than likely. I'll be testing out the 6 to 9 stop filter in a later video as soon as I can find a decent long exposure scene to give you guys more feedback. If you think there's anything else I've missed, comment below and I'll do my best to include it in future videos. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed and you want to see further videos from myself, hit subscribe and we'll catch up soon.